Good morning. My name is Ian Ross, solicitor and legal advisor to Telford Wrekin Council's Planning Committee. My initial task for today is to clarify and confirm which members of the Planning Committee are in attendance, working alphabetically through the borough councillors, giving their borough wards, and if you could confirm that you are present. Councillor Nigel Dugmore for Muxton Ward.
Present.
Councillor Ian Fletcher for Priorslee Ward.
Present.
Councillor Amric Jawar, Ketley and Overdale Ward.
Present.
Councillor Janice Jones for Madeley and Sutton Hill Ward.
Present.
Councillor Kelly Middleton for Woodside Ward.
Present.
Councillor Peter Scott for Newport North and West.
Present.
Councillor Charles Smith for Rockwoodine Wood and Trench.
Present.
Councillor Chris Turley for the Nedge Ward.
Present.
Councillor Derek White for Madeley and Sutton Hill Ward.
Present.
Thank you very much. To assist, may I also clarify and confirm which council officers are also in attendance besides myself and their job titles. Valerie Hume, Service Delivery Manager for Planning.
Present.
Andrew Gittins, Area Team Planning Manager.
Present.
Mark Turner, Area Team Planning Manager.
Present.
Deborah Mosley, Democratic and Scrutiny Services Team Leader.
Present.
Jane Clark, Democratic and Scrutiny Officer. Jane Clark, Democratic and Scrutiny Officer. Are you there, Jane? Jane, are you there? No problem, we'll move on. Maria Altonell, Democratic and Scrutiny Officer.
Present.
Thank you. Just to mention, whenever anybody speaks during the meeting, it will be made clear who is speaking. And now it is for the Chair of Planning Committee, Councillor Charles Smith, to formally open the meeting.
Well, good morning, everybody. This is Charles Smith, Rockwoodine Wood and Trench Ward, chairing the meeting. Welcome to the Telford Wrekin Council Planning Committee. Due to the current COVID-19 regulations, today's meeting is held using audio conferencing and available for the public to listen to via an audio feed on the agenda page of our website or via the Council's YouTube channel. This ensures that all those involved or interested in the planning applications can hear how the decisions are made. Only those people who have been notified prior to the meeting are able to speak and will be dialed into the meeting via telephone for the application on which they would like to speak. Members and other participants should only speak when they're invited to do so. So, if possible, will everyone ensure that their microphones are on mute while they are not addressing the committee? Anyone disrupting the proceedings will have their microphone muted or be removed from the meeting. Thank you for your cooperation. In addition to that, can I say there's a minute silence to be held for the carers this morning at 11 o'clock. I intend to take that minute silence as near 11 as possible, but certainly after the first application has been dealt with. Thank you. We now move to the agenda, which is the appointment of a vice chair. And during Councillor Jackie Lovely's leave of absence for sickness, Councillor Chris Turley has been appointed as vice chair through delegated powers. The committee were asked to ratify this appointment. Can I have a proposer and a seconder for that ratification, please?
I'll propose.
Seconder?
More, I'll propose.
Thank you. Is there a seconder?
Yeah, me, Kelly Middleton.
Thank you. Can I ask the Democratic Service Officer to undertake the roll call for the vote, please?
Deborah Mosley, Democratic Services and Scrutiny Team Leader. So, Councillor Nigel Dugmore.
For.
Councillor Ian Fletcher.
For.
Councillor Amric Jawar.
For.
Councillor Janice Jones.
For.
Councillor Kelly Middleton.
For.
Councillor Peter Scott.
For.
Councillor Charles Smith.
For.
Councillor Chris Turley.
For.
Councillor Derek White.
For.
Chair, that's 9 members in favour.
Thank you. That's unanimous then. Thank you. Item 2 on the agenda is apologies for absence. Are there any apologies for absence from the Democratic Services? The sound of that, no. Confirm, can you, Deb? Apologies for absence? None?
We've had no apologies, Chair.
Right, thank you. Item 3 then is the declarations of interest. Can the Democratic Service Officer confirm the declaration is received in advance, please?
We've had no declarations of interest in advance, Chair.
Thank you. And can I ask the legal advisor to conduct a roll call check if there are any further declarations?
Chair, Councillor Amit Jabbar here.
Sorry?
Councillor Amit Jabbar here.
Yeah.
I'm on the Oakland Town Council, and the TWC 2020-0087 it falls under that ward. But I can confirm that I didn't take any part in any discussions.
Okay, thank you, Amric.
Chair, Ian Ross, Legal Services here. Perhaps I could carry on and do the roll call as required by the programme.
If you will, please, Ian.
Thank you, Chair. This is making a query as to whether there are any further declarations of interest for noting. Councillor Nigel Dugmore for Muxton Ward.
None.
Councillor Ian Fletcher for Prisley Ward.
None.
Councillor Janice Jones for Madeley and Sutton Hill Ward.
None.
Councillor Kelly Middleton for Woodside Ward.
None.
Councillor Peter Scott, Newport and North West Ward.
None.
Councillor Charles Smith, Rockwoodine Wood and Trench Ward.
None.
Councillor Chris Turley, the Nedge Ward.
None.
Councillor Derek White, Madeley and Sutton Hill Ward.
None.
And we've already covered Amric Jawaz. Thank you. That's that bit, Chair.
Thank you. Back to the chair again then. Item 4, minutes of the previous meeting. Can I have a proposal and seconder, please?
Councillor Chris Turley, propose.
Is a seconder?
Councillor Amit Jabbar, seconded.
Right, can I ask the Democratic Service Officer to undertake a roll call for the vote, please? In favour of the minutes being accurate?
Thank you, Chair. So Councillor Nigel Dugmore,
Oh.
Councillor Ian Fletcher, Councillor Ian Fletcher, Councillor Amrit Jawar,
Can I ask what is this for?
it's for confirmation of the minutes.
Yes, I'm for.
For the accuracy of them.
Councillor Janice Jones,
I wasn't present at the last meeting.
okay. Councillor Kelly Middleton,
For.
Councillor Peter Scott,
I wasn't present either.
Councillor Charles Smith,
Or
Councillor Chris Turley,
Oh.
and Councillor Derek White.
Not present.
Chair, we have 5 votes in favour.
that's
Chair.
the majority. Thank you. Yes?
Chair, Ian Ross speaking. Could we clarify that Councillor Fletcher is still in contact with the meeting?
I think we could need that clarifying that because Ian's an important member. Can we
Deb, is there-
clarify that?
Ian Ross speaking, Legal Services. Is Deb Mosley, is there any way of confirming whether Councillor Ian Fletcher is still in communication with the meeting?
I'm just checking the list,
Thank you.
and he is in the list.
Could we, Councillor Fletcher, I'm not sure whether there's been perhaps a technical hitch. Perhaps there's a mute button that might have been pressed. Perhaps Councillor Fletcher, you could confirm whether or not you can hear me speaking. Ian Ross, Legal Services.
Councillor Ian Fletcher
is now exiting.
Chair, may I suggest we just pause for a moment to allow Councillor Fletcher to rejoin the meeting?
I would suggest we do pause for a minute and get Ian back into the meeting.
Thank you. Ian Ross, Legal Services speaking. Deb Mosley,
Yes.
is there any way of perhaps communicating with Ian Fletcher to see whether he's having trouble? I don't know whether there's an alternative phone number we have for him.
I'll see what I can do.
Thank you. Perhaps, Chair, we could deal quickly with item 5.
Ian's not present. Yeah, we can. Deferred withdrawn application. Are there any deferred withdrawn applications?
Chair, this is Valerie Hume, Development Management Service Delivery Manager. There are no deferred or withdrawn applications.
Thank you, Val. On to item 6 then, plan application for determination. We need to get Ian back into the meeting for this because everybody needs to be present for this.
Yes, Ian Ross, Legal Services. That's correct. Just we do have to make sure, as you've pointed out, Chair, that if anyone drops out of the court at any point during an item, it's appropriate for you to pause the meeting while the individual attempts to dial back in, or the Democratic Services Officer dials them back in, which is what we're endeavouring to do at the moment.
Yeah, whistle amongst yourselves.
Deborah Mosley, Democratic and Scrutiny Services Team Leader. I've attempted to make contact with Councillor Fletcher, but unfortunately I've been unable to do so.
Oh.
Chair, Ian Ross.
Yes, Ian, carry on. Carry on, Ian.
It is appropriate for you to wait. It's not a problem. It seems like time passes very almost uncomfortably in these moments, but I think we have to be patient with ourselves and with this system. So I think if Chair, it's perfectly appropriate for you to pause for a while longer if that's appropriate.
I was going to suggest we wait another couple of minutes anyway.
Thank you. Thanks, Chair.
Derek White. I think this demonstrates really the difficulty that we're going to have when we're having a full council meeting. Could you imagine this with 40 odd members and the difficulty that we're going to have? We really need to think of this a bit more constructively, probably.
I think that's for the officers to take away.
Chair, it's Anthea Law, Service Delivery Manager for Governance and Legal here. Could I just come in on that comment? Is that all right?
Yeah, carry on, Anthea.
Councillor White, it is something that's in discussion at the moment, but I think it's a discussion to be had outside of the planning meeting. Is that all right? And you and I can pick up after the meeting?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, it wasn't meant for this meeting. It was meant to saying that, look, we need to, take the examples from these type of meetings and then produce them into, a much more workable plan.
Yeah, that's fine. I can catch up with you after the meeting because we do have some discussions to have, so we'll take that outside.
Derek
Wait.
Is now exiting.
Oh dear.
Ian Ross, Legal Services. Deb and Maria and Jane, maybe it's worth trying to contact Councillor White as well as trying to contact Ian Fletcher, and if that's okay.
I'll attempt to make contact. As far as I'm aware, Councillor Fletcher has lost connection and all sound, and he's trying to dial back in as we speak.
Ian Ross, Legal Services. Chair, I think at some stage we're going to have to make a decision to carry on with the agenda, but I'll leave that with you, Chair, if that's fine.
Thank you, Ian. Charles Smith speaking. I propose to give it another 2 minutes because Derek's now disappeared. We need to get people back in if we can.
Yes, Chair. The Ian Ross Legal Services. Just to clarify, the quorum for the meeting is 3, so we're comfortably quorate. But I understand perfectly well that we like to get as many members in on every debate as possible. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, it's a matter of being fair to members of the committee and also fair to the public. Right.
Perhaps I could do, just to be certain, Chair, Ian Ross Legal Services, another roll call of members to check everybody's still there, just to check the connection. It's always quite useful to do it, and while we're waiting, that might be a useful thing to do, Chair.
Would be useful, I think, when I call the item to be discussed, that you do check all members are there then.
Thank you, Chair.
Yeah. Right.
Ian Ross, Legal Services Chair, just to fill the silence a little bit in case members of the public are wondering what's taking place. May I confirm that we've lost connection with 2 councillors, ward councillors, and we're endeavouring to reconnect with those ward councillors before we embark on the next item on the agenda, which is consideration of the planning applications for determination. Thank you.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Are you there, Charles? It's Ian Ross, Legal Services.
Yeah, go on, Ian.
I'm thinking it might be that we possibly waited long enough.
Yeah.
Councillor Janice Jones speaking. If we do lose councillors from the forum and they've put questions in beforehand, will those questions still be asked?
Ian Ross, Legal Services. If officers are aware of the questions in advance, I'm sure the officers will address the questions that have been raised for the benefit of all members, regardless of whether the member who raised the question has fallen out of the meeting. I think those questions that members have raised in advance have been forwarded to officers. So those matters hopefully will be addressed by officers in their introduction and presentation of the report, whether or not the member is present or has fallen out. Is that correct, Val?
Yes, Ian, that's correct. We have received various questions which we can address.
We can address regardless. Even.
Councillor Janice Jones, thank you for that response.
Thank you.
Ian, it's 20 past 10. I think we need to carry on. If you can ask which members are currently present.
Thank you, Chair. Just to alert other members and Democratic Services that that the members who haven't been able to take part in the whole of the debate won't be able to take part in the ultimate vote. And is that going to be managed, Deb? Deb Mosley, are you there?
Deb Mosley, Democratic and Scrutiny Services Team Leader.
Yes, Deb, it's Ian Ross, Legal Services. If the members might try to rejoin halfway through the debate, but will it be clarified to those members that they won't be able to take part in the vote at the end of the debate?
I can attempt to make that contact with them.
Thank you, because the chair would like to now carry on with the meeting. Thank you.
I think Councillor Ian Fletcher has tried to join us on
Unknown
Teams.
participant is now joining.
Can we clarify who the unknown participant is, please? Can we clarify?
Unknown participant is now exiting.
Dear me, Chair.
Hello. I'm here.
Ian Ross Legal Services. It might be appropriate for me to now do a fresh roll call of the members present. Is that okay with you, Chair?
We've got to do that before we carry on with the meeting, so I suggest you do it, Ian.
I shall do it now. Could I confirm who is present? I shall go through the names in alphabetical order, as I have done previously. Councillor Nigel Dugmore for Muxton Ward.
Present.
Councillor Ian Fletcher, Prisley Ward. Councillor Amric Jawar, Ketley and Overdale.
Present.
Councillor Janice Jones, Madeley and Sutton Hill Ward.
Present.
Councillor Kelly Middleton, Woodside Ward.
Present.
Councillor Peter Scott, Newport, North and West.
Present.
Councillor Charles Smith, Rockerdene Wood and Trench.
Present.
Councillor Chris Turley, the Nedge Ward.
Present.
Councillor Derek White, Madeley and Sutton Hill Ward. So it looks like we're still missing Councillors Ian Fletcher and Councillor Derek White.
Right, we'll carry on anyway.
Thank you.
We'll move on to the application for determination. TWC 2019/1031, the site of Royston, 68 Rosecroft, 970 Park Road, St Leonards Road, Malinslee, Telford. Who's going to introduce this one? Is that Mark or Andy?
It will be Mark, Chair. However, haven't we got public speakers to be brought in?
My papers actually say they introduce it, then we have the public speaker, and then we come back to the panel officer again.
Ian Ross, Legal Services, Chair. As I think the process we're proposing to follow is that the Democratic Services Officer will dial in the public speaker for the application at this stage, so that we're sure that the public speakers are connected and are present, just so that they're ready and prepared for when it comes to their opportunity to speak publicly. So I think we're just seeking to confirm that the public speakers are connected, and that's something that Deb, Jane, or Maria will confirm.
Hi Ian, Maria Altonel. I'm just trying to dial in the public speaker for this application, Luke Webb.
Thank you.
Hello?
Unknown participant is now joining.
Could we clarify, please, Ian Ross Legal Services, sorry, could we clarify, please, who the person is who has just joined the meeting?
Luke Webb.
Right. I'm Councillor Charles Smith, the Chair, Luke. Welcome to the meeting. Can I ask the officer to introduce the report and then you can have your say?
No problem.
Thank you, Chair. So the application site itself measures approximately 0.86 of a hectare and is situated to the south of Park Road and northwest of St Leonards Road in Malinslee. The land is privately owned and comprises of 3 residential dwellings which are proposed for demolition. In all directions are large areas of residential housing with intervening areas of open space and parkland. Further afield, to the north and east of the site, are a variety of uses, including schools, retail parks, local shops and restaurants. Telford Central Railway Station is located approximately 1.5 miles from the site. The closest bus stop to the site lies immediately to the south of the site along St Leonards Road, which provides frequent connections to the town centre and wider area. There are a number of hedgerows within the site, making up the residential curtilages, and a number of trees, particularly along the southern boundary. The trees are varied in maturity and quality. There has been a long-standing planning history for the site, as outlined within the committee report, with outline permission first granted back in 1993, which has been renewed 3 times subsequently. An application for 49 units back in 2018 was withdrawn. So this application seeks full planning permission for the erection of 38 dwellings, which form part of a fully 100% affordable housing scheme, comprising 23 3-bed houses, 9 2-bed houses, 2 2-bed bungalows, and 4 1-bed apartments. The current layout proposes an overall density of 44 dwellings, comparable to the Cambridge Close development to the opposite side of the road, with a density of approximately 41 dwellings per hectare. Each unit has private amenity space, with the apartments sharing a garden with communal bin and cycle storage. Vehicular access is proposed directly off Park Road, with the main access being adopted. The development proposes pedestrian accessibility enhancements with the provision of a pedestrian link along the eastern boundary to the site, connecting Park Road to the pedestrian walkway to the south of St Leonards Road. 76 car parking spaces will be provided with a combination of on-plot and communal parking areas. This parking provision is in exact accordance with the parking standards within the Telford and Wrekin local plan. In respect to it is noted that the site is made
can see that
properties and associated outbuildings, gardens, and boundaries. The ecology survey undertaken prior to the submission of the application noted no evidence of bats. A number of birds, including house sparrow and starlings, have been recorded. Accordingly, conditions are proposed in respect of the provision of artificial nesting roosting boxes, including 7 bat boxes, 15 bird boxes, 3 invertebrate boxes, and 2 hedgehog passes per garden. A condition is also proposed in respect of a lighting plan. in respect to the management of trees close to boundaries with residential properties, a long-term management plan is proposed to be conditioned to ensure that the trees are properly managed and maintained. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Andy. Chairman speaking. Can I ask Luke Webb, please, to address the committee? Luke, you've got 3 minutes exactly.
Brilliant, thank you. So thank you for taking the time to listen to me today, and I hope you're all well and staying safe during this time. So my name's Luke Webb and I'm the Planning Manager for Living Space and have been running this application. As no one has registered to speak against, I will keep my address as short as possible, as I feel the committee report sufficiently covers the aspects of the application that you may have had queries about. During pre-app discussions, a scheme for approximately 44 dwellings was initially proposed. However, following pre-app advice from the officers and an internal review, we made a submission for 39 dwellings, which has subsequently been reduced to 38 throughout the application process. Following 2 rounds of consultation, it has been agreed with the planning officer that the density now proposed is both acceptable and perfectly justifiable, as it is proportionally lower than that of the surrounding area. Additionally, during the application process, we agreed to incorporate 2 further bungalows into the scheme, which now includes 4 in total after it was highlighted that there is a particular local need. The scheme is set to be 100% affordable housing, yet there are financial contributions to both education and wider recreation facilities, as set out in the officer's report, which will be secured via the appropriate legal agreement. Access to the site accords with the requirements of your highways officer, and the proposals comply with the parking standards throughout with no shortfall. It is for the aforementioned reasons that I hope you endorse the officer's recommendation this morning, and I thank you again for your time.
Thank you, Luke.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. You may listen to the debate, Luke, if you want to. No problem at all, but put your thing on mute.
Will do.
Thank you. Thank you. Has Andy, you got any comment to come back on that?
So, Chair, it's Mark Turner, Area Planning Manager.
No, Mark, sorry, yeah. Mark, you got any come back?
The council has undertaken 2 rounds of public consultation. 12 letters of objection were received initially, with 11 from the second round of consultation. Officers consider that there are, however, no technical issues that would prevent the development from proceeding, and no issues that could not be mitigated through these conditions. The applicant has agreed to enter into a Section 106 with the council to secure financial contributions in respect of education, covering both primary and secondary, totalling just under £135,000, towards upgrading education establishments within the vicinity of the development, alongside £20,400 towards the upgrade of the local Malinslee playing field, and the development is 100% affordable. The Council's Education Department has raised no objection to the proposed development, subject to the outlined financial contributions to upgrade the existing facilities. The recommendation therefore remains as outlined within the report to committee, namely to delegate authority to grant full planning permission subject to the 106 in respect to the outlined provisions. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mark. Now over to the committee, and we've had questions coming in advance. I'll take them in the order they came in. Councillor Janice Jones.
Hello, Councillor Janice Jones speaking. I think one of my questions was addressed in the introduction to this, which was I was a bit unclear about how many 2-3 bedroom houses were there. That's already been addressed in the introduction. My other concerns were regarding school availability and doctors. School places are difficult to come by in some areas at the moment, and I'm just wondering how this is going to be accommodated. The other question I had was about the woodland management around the properties, as in some areas in Telford at the moment, we are facing issues with management of these areas where trees are overgrowing properties after they've become established, and nesting boxes. How is this going to be maintained going forward?
Thank you. In respect of the kind of ecological and management processes, there's a proposed condition regarding a long-term management of those solutions. So within the verbal presentation, I kind of outlined the primary ecological enhancements through those. So that can be covered through a long-term management plan, include where the applicant is required to kind of submit those details for the approval of, in this case, it would be the council's ecologist, and also in respect of any trees that would need to be reviewed by the council's arboriculturist as well. In respect of the school places, the council's kind of education officers kind of are quite satisfied that the proposed money secured with 106 can kind of provide the required capacity through the upgrading of the existing facilities. So they don't require they don't raise any significant concerns there. Also kind of mindful of the outline permission, albeit going back quite a few years, that was a kind of outline permission that had a much higher number of dwellings proposed, kind of the high 40s, and it was considered at that time that there was kind of sufficient capacity, or kind of certainly in terms of doctors within the kind of local vicinity, but the school places would be, or the school funding would be kind of secured through additional Section 106 funding.
Thank you, Mark.
Speaking. Thank you.
The next question was from Nigel Dugmore, Councillor Dugmore.
Yeah, Councillor Dugmore, Muxton Ward. I just got a couple of questions. I mean, it's good to see that the parking provision is okay. I suppose that's my legacy. But on the 8.1.2, you know, there's a couple of the apartments which are not compliant with the NDSS, and I would have thought with the amendments that they could all been made compliant. I mean, I know it's not far off, but you know, it's just a bit niggly. Perhaps it's my OCD. And the other thing is that you know, I'll be interested to, and the officers can email me this, how the education contribution is calculated, because we've got a far more acute shortage of secondary places than primary places, yet the contribution to secondary places is only half that of primary places. Other than that, I've got no problems with this particular application, but I'd just like those 2 points clarifying.
Thank you. In respect of the education, absolutely, I'll be able to kind of, I suppose, send you the matrix or how the education provision is calculated separately. There's no problem there at all. In respect to the National Design Space Standards, in line with kind of policy HO4, the development should kind of broadly be kind of complying with those standards. In respect to this current application, it's because it's 100% affordable in nature, and there is kind of provision or flexibility with HO4 where viability is an issue. Certainly in the current application, it's a much lesser kind of density to what would have been provided were the kind of earlier consent implemented. In that case, it would have been expected the houses probably would have had to be even smaller than kind of that proposed. But certainly it is only a marginal shortfall in the provision of those small number of apartments. It's also kind of balanced against the additional provision of bungalows, that there are now 4 bungalows, which kind of there is a significant need for that kind of accommodation within the borough. So it kind of balance has had to kind of be applied in the current instance, which is kind of resulting in that marginal shortfall.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Do you want to come back?
No, that's fine, thanks. As I say, I mean, there's not much difference between the, there's not much shortfall on the NDSS, but it's just, just nags me a bit when, sort of we're nearly there, but not quite there.
Thank you, Nigel. A question from Councillor Ian Fletcher, but is Ian in the meeting again?
Ian,
I am back into the meeting, but as I have not been through the entire part of discussion this item, I'm not going to say anything more. I'm just observing. Thank you.
You can ask your question you want to, Ian, but you can't vote.
Yeah, I'm aware that. My concern was with regard to the access. Having travelled along that road a considerable amount of time, and it's quite a busy road, and I'm wondering whether the access is going to be adequate for the houses.
Certainly, Mark Turner, Area Planning Manager in East. Certainly, following kind of consideration of the application by the Highway Council's Highway Engineer, there's been no objection whatsoever raised to the access for the proposed number of dwellings. So they're quite satisfied that it's a safe point of entry. Also, again, mindful of kind of the previous consensus, is a lesser number of kind of vehicles that would be using that access point as well. So it's probably a safer form of development than that which could previously have been implemented through the previous outline permission. So there's no objection or concern about the access being unsafe.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ian. Are there any other questions from any of the other councillors, please?
Chair, Councillor Jawar here.
Sorry?
Amrik Jawar.
Yes, Amrik.
Yes, Chair. No, I got no issues with this development. The only thing I would suggest is that some sort of traffic calming measure on the park road with increased traffic will be more suitable for the residents, for safety and everything else with it.
In respect of incorporating a traffic calming measure outside of the site, there's been no justification or kind of need for that raised by the highway engineer. So it wouldn't kind of be through kind of the technical expert. There wouldn't be any reason, justification for the inclusion of those works.
Councillor Turley.
Yes, Chris. Councillor Turley.
I can confirm there are speed humps along that road.
Okay. Any other comments from any councillors?
No, fine. Move it, Chair.
You're moving it. Is there a seconder for the recommendation to?
Miss Jones, yes, I'll second it.
Seconded. Right, can I ask the Democratic officer to have a roll call, please? Those in favour.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Nigel Dugmore.
For.
Councillor Amrik Jawar.
For.
Councillor Janice Jones.
For.
Councillor Kelly Middleton.
For.
Councillor Peter Scott.
For.
Councillor Charles Smith.
For.
Councillor Chris Turley.
For.
Chair, that's 7 votes in favour, and we have 2 members who are unable to participate.
That's okay, thank you. So that application is allowed. Thank you. So that brings on to the next application.
Ian Ross, Legal
Sorry?
Services. Ian Ross, Legal
Unknown
Services.
participant is now exiting.
May I make just a point as regards, perhaps it'd be wise to get a roll call to see who's in on the meeting before we start the next item. You might have been just about to do that yourself anyway, but I thought, because I think Ian Fletcher is obviously
he's there, yeah.
Now, so would you like me, Chair, to do a quick roll call?
Thanks, Ian. If you will, I was about to suggest anyway, and then after you've done that, we'll have the minutes silent because clearly we'll be in the middle of the application when the 11 o'clock comes.
Thank you, Chair. I apologise, members, but I shall do another quick roll call. Councillor Nigel Dugmore for Muxton Ward.
Present.
Councillor Ian Fletcher, Priorsley Ward.
Present.
Councillor Amric Jawar, Ketley and Overdale Ward.
Present.
Councillor Janice Jones, Madeley and Sutton Hill Ward.
Present.
Councillor Kelly Middleton, Woodside Ward.
Present.
Councillor Peter Scott, Newport, North and West.
Present.
Councillor Charles Smith, Rockledene Wood and Trench Ward.
Present.
Councillor Chris Turley, the Nedge Ward.
Present.
Councillor Derek White, Madeley and Sutton Hill Ward. Derek's obviously struggling, Chair. Over to you, Chair. Thank you.
Right, thank you. Well, it's quarter to 11 and the minute started at 11 o'clock. But it would be appropriate, I think, because we'll be in the middle of an application at that time and difficult to do, that we have the minute silence now. So if Ian or Debbie could oversee that minute, please, starting now.
Deb Mosley, it's Ian Ross speaking. If you have a timing facility, perhaps you could manage this, please.
Yeah, I'm just about to start the timer.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. The 1 minute is up.
Ian Ross.
Thank you.
Sorry, Chair. Ian
Carry
Ross,
on, Ian.
Legal Services. Chair, I'm thinking it might be appropriate to make one effort to try and contact Derek White. We might be able to dial him in somehow. So if we can explore that technical possibility.
If you will, please.
Thank you. Deb, are you able to see what you can do to try and dial in Derek?
I'll see if I can get hold of him.
Thank you very much.
Unknown
Welcome to the
participant
EE
is now
voicemail.
joining.
I'm sorry, but the person you've called is not available. Please leave your message after the tone. After you've finished your message, just hang up, or to hear more options, please press 1.
It would appear that there is no answer from Councillor White.
Right. The chair here. Ian, can you do the roll call and move on to application for determination TWC 20200087, the site of the former Rose and Crown Public House, Sunnyside Road, Ketley Bank. And can I ask all members to, if they've got on the relevant page, which is page 31 on the agenda pack.
Ian Ross, Legal Services. I understand that we have some public speakers who can be dialed in at this stage.
Yes. Yeah.
Hi Ian, Maria Altonell. I'm just dialing them in now.
Unknown participant is now joining.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Hello.
Ian Ross, Legal Services. Perhaps you could confirm who's just joined the meeting, please.
Okay, this is Councillor Andy Bennett of Oaken Gates Town Council.
Welcome, Andy. This is Charles Smith. I chair the meeting.
Hello, Charles.
Call you at the appropriate time.
Okay, thanks.
Hello,
unknown participant is now joining.
Ian Ross, Legal Services. Could we clarify, is that Mr. Stephen Locke who's just arrived to the meeting?
It is, Ian, yes.
Oh, welcome.
Thank you.
Charles, Chair, over to you, Chair.
Hello, Mr. Locke. It's Councillor Charles Smith. I chair the meeting. I'll call you at the appropriate time. Can I ask the officer now to introduce the report?
Thank you, Chair. So this application proposes full planning permission for the erection of one dwelling and the associated
is now joining.
Oh, now, Ian Ross, Legal Services. Perhaps I can interject here. Sorry, Mark. I'm very sorry. Sorry, Chair. But I think, can we confirm that Derek White is here in the meeting?
He just announced he's in the meeting, as chairman, and I suppose because we haven't started the report properly, that he takes full part.
Ian Ross, Legal Services. Derek, are you definitely there?
I'm definitely here. Not all there, but I'm here.
Excellent. Back over to you, Chair.
Okay, can we start again, Mark, and introduce the report?
Yeah, no problem, Chair. So, Mark Turner, Area Planning Manager, East. This application proposes full planning permission for the erection of one dwelling and associated access. The dwelling would be in the form of a dormer bungalow. The application site is currently a vacant parcel of land positioned in between the property's Sunny Bungalow and the former Rose and Crown car park, where 3 dwellings are currently under construction. The land is also designated as Green Network within the Telford Wrekin local plan. The site falls within the built-up area of the borough, and as a result, the principle of new residential development in this area is considered to be acceptable. The site is designated as Green Network land. It is, however, noted that a series of trees have been removed and the site has been cleared. And in the opinion of council planning and ecological officers, it is considered that the land no longer meets the requirements of the Green Network policy NE6 and no longer functions as Green Network. In addition, the applicant has presented an argument demonstrating that as it is a standalone area of land, it does not contribute to the wider aims of the policy and is not a benefit to the public. And as a result, the loss of the Green Network land in this instance is considered to be acceptable on balance. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mark. I'm now calling the public speakers. Councillor Andy Bennett, please, from Oakgate Town Council. And you've got 3 minutes, Andy.
Yes, hello. Councillor Andy Bennett of Oaken Gates Town Council. Okay, well, I'm sure obviously the committee has got all the information there in front of it. various copious numbers of documents and pictures and so on, various complaints and objections from members of the public. So I won't sort of go into that. I can't describe that now in a 3-minute phone conversation, obviously. But what I would like to do is just draw the committee's attention to the fact that, as we know, as town and parish councillors, many of us, that it's very rare to get members of the public, certainly a number of members of the public, at our council meetings, town and parish council meetings. At the council meeting related to this, we had, I think we're almost into double figures. That is pretty unusual. I think that showed the level of concern of what the residents obviously felt was overdevelopment of the site. So I think that's basically a measure that I think the committee would like to bear in mind, leaving aside any statutory conditions and various other things. I think that's something the committee needs to be made aware of, to look through the documents, to look through the information that's been provided by members of the public and pictures that have been provided by members of the public, particularly related to Sunnyside Road, which is a very, very narrow road. And if we're going to have access, ingress and egress from that site, that needs to be borne in mind, and conditions need to be applied to it. I think that's all I have to say. Thank you. I'll pass it back to you.
Thank you, Andy. You may listen to the debate, but please put your phone on mute.
Yeah, will do.
Mr. Stephen Locke, please, the applicant's agent. Stephen, you've got 3 minutes.
You're approaching the maximum allowed time for recording a message. If you wish to record further, please choose the append option from the menu. If you've finished recording, just hang up. If you don't carry on recording or hang up, your message will be deleted. To listen to your message, press 1. To re-record your message, press 2. To continue recording your message, press 3. If you're happy with your message, press 4. To specify a number for your message recipient to call you back on,
Unknown
that's different to the number you're calling from,
exiting.
Background
press
information.
5.
Ian Ross, Legal Services. Sorry,
To listen
Mr.
to your
Locke.
message, press 1. To
Yeah.
re-record
Sorry, I can
your
hear
message,
some background. I
press
can hear
2.
some background
to continue
noise.
recording your
I know.
message, press
Ian Ross
3.
again.
If you're happy with your
Deb
message,
Mosley,
press
maybe
4. To specify a number
any
for
way
your
of
message
explaining what's
recipient to
happening?
call you back on that's different to the number you're calling
I
from,
don't know.
press 5.
It's interesting.
Hello.
To listen to your message, press 1. To re-record your message, press 2. To continue recording your message, press 3. If you're happy with your message, press 4. To specify a number for your message recipient to call you back on that's different to the number you're calling from, press 5.
Hello.
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 Thank you for
Sorry.
calling voicemail. Goodbye.
Can you hear me?
Ian Ross Legal Services. Maybe
Unknown participant is now exiting.
I'm curious, Ian Ross Legal Services. I'm curious to find out whose phone triggered that, and I've just had a little message there saying someone's just left. Do we know, Deb? Sorry, Charles. Am I okay to make these points? I'm just trying to clarify.
Yes, please, because I don't know whose phone that was. Anybody's, could have been mine even.
It's Deb Mosley here, Democratic and Scrutiny Services Team Leader. I do wonder whether it was from when we tried to dial Councillor Derek White in on his telephone, because although he had gone from the dashboard that it was hung up, I wonder whether there was something going on in the background and it was still connected.
Right.
Ian Ross Legal Services. Charles, do you want me to do another roll call, or are you confident everybody is?
I'm concerned that Mr. Stephen Locke may have left because it's an unknown applicant.
I'm still here.
Right, do a quick roll call in, can you, of the councillors?
Thank you very much. Councillor Nigel Dugmore.
Still here.
Councillor Ian Fletcher.
Still here.
Councillor Amric Jawar. Councillor Amric Jawar.
I'm here.
Oh, good. Councillor Janice Jones.
Present.
Councillor Kelly Middleton.
I'm here.
Councillor Peter Scott.
Present.
Councillor Charles Smith.
I'm here.
Councillor Chris Turley.
Present.
Councillor Derek White.
Yes, I'm still here.
Excellent.
Right. Right. So, Mr. Locke, you've got 3 minutes after all that interruption to state your case, please.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair. Good morning to the other committee councillors. My name is Stephen Locke. I'm the planning agent speaking for the applicant Oliver Hardy Homes, and thank you for allowing me to speak. The application is for a modest single 2-bedroom dormer bungalow on a plot of land which was formerly part of the old Rose and Crown site on Sunnyside Road in Ketley Bank, a brownfield site. The dwelling would form a final house in a row of new properties being built by the applicants on the road, this being the largest plot extending to around 435 square metres. Previously, we submitted an application for a 2-storey dwelling on the plot, and following extensive discussions with the local planners, we've revised the scale and massing of the unit to a bungalow which sits well on the plot and matches the style of the other properties along Sunnyside Road. The site is effectively an infill plot and can easily be accessed with plenty of room for parking and turning of cars within the site. There are no objections from local highway officers, and as the house is only 2 bedrooms, only 2 parking spaces are required. Other statutory consultees are also supporting the scheme. Local planning policy HO4 encourages a mix of housing types, sizes and tenures to meet a range of household needs, and with a general shift in the distribution of the population towards older age groups, there's also more of a need for bungalows, and this property will help to meet this important need. The site is designated as a green network under local policies, but when the property was acquired by the applicants, the land had previously been used as an area for dumping and tipping and had limited value. And we've set out to planning officers how the site failed to contribute to any of the green network functions, and officers have agreed that its function in the green network no longer applies. As part of the residential scheme, we've submitted an extensive new landscaping scheme which details a range of new trees, shrubs and habitat enhancements to the site and the local area. The applicants are also happy to accept the range of planning conditions detailed for the site. Overall, the scheme meets local and national planning policies which support sustainable development. And if possible, the applicants aim to develop the site this year, which would allow the new bungalow to be built and contribute towards the local housing stock. We therefore urge you to support the recommendation to grant planning permission for this application. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Locke. Mark, do you want to come back on that?
Thank you, Chair. Yes. So the Mark Turner, Area Planning Manager East. There have been objections to the scheme raised by Oaken Gates Town Council and neighbouring properties, primarily in respect of the overdevelopment of the site, concern regarding the access and egress, impact on neighbouring dwellings, and the loss of the green network. Queries have also been raised in respect of the omission of a footpath along Sunnyside Road and a land ownership dispute between the applicant and neighbouring property. Whilst these matters are discussed in detail within the committee report, to clarify, officers do not consider that the development of the site to include one bungalow would result in an overdevelopment within the area. The dwelling would act as an infill plot between existing development and recently constructed development, and therefore would appear appropriate within the street scene. In respect of the access and egress, whilst it is acknowledged that the site would be accessed off a steep hill, the council's highway officers have reviewed the scheme and have no objections subject to conditions. There is proposed to be sufficient parking on plot, and the cumulative impact of one additional dwelling would not have a significant impact upon the highway network. It is acknowledged that there is a lack of footpath along Sunnyside Road. Due to its historic layout, it would not be possible for this to be installed due to the width of the road. One additional dwelling would not significantly worsen the existing scenario, and there is suitable visibility to allow for occasional pedestrians. As a result of the siting of the dwelling and its modest design, there is a sufficient separation distance between neighbouring residential properties in order to maintain adequate residential amenity. The loss of green network has been addressed, and officers do not consider the character of the area would be harmed, as new trees are proposed to be planted to replace ones which have been previously removed. The trees that had previously been removed were on private land and were not subject to tree preservation orders, and therefore could be removed at any time without notification to the local plan.
Unknown participant is now exiting.
Whilst it is
Ian Ross, Legal Service, very sorry to butt in, Mark. We've had an alert. Did I hear that correctly, Deb, that we've had an alert that someone's left?
Yes, we have, but as it was an unknown participant, I think it may have been one of the public speakers.
Chair, do we need to clarify, Deb, or are you sure it was one of the public speakers, or do you think I need to? It's getting a bit dull, isn't it? Need to do another roll call.
I think we let Mark carry on first, and then before we get to it, we'll make sure all the councillors are there. Well, yeah.
It's just that they need to hear everything that Mark says, you see, just in case they can't miss anything.
Malinslee, Democratic and Scrutiny Services Team Leader. My dashboard shows that there are 9 members present.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Deb. That's perfect.
Thank you, Deb. Yeah.
Back to you, Chair and Mark.
Mark, can you carry on, please? Sorry for the interruption.
No problem at all. Whilst it is not encouraged for developers to remove trees, no enforcement action could be taken. The enforcement team, however, will be available during construction to ensure full compliance at that time. Finally, in respect of the land ownership dispute, this is regarding a small section of land between the site and Sunny Bungalow. The applicants have provided deeds to show that to suggest that they own all the land within the boundary, albeit disputes of this nature are fairly commonplace, and as a result the council can have no further involvement as it is a civil matter between the parties. The council's highway, drainage, ecological and tree officers have raised no objection to the proposal on technical grounds. Overall, the scheme is considered to be a suitable infill plot within the urban area. The recommendation therefore remains as outlined in the committee report, which is to grant full planning permission subject to conditions as outlined. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mark. It's now open to the committee, and as we've had questions submitted, I'll take them in the order they were submitted. Councillor Janice Jones.
Councillor Janice Jones speaking. I think one or two of the areas I had concerns have been addressed, but I would like to ask more information on the following. Page 34, 6.1, no footpath for pedestrians. Do we have any idea what the estimated footfall might be in that area? I've also put I would like to know more about the boundary issues, but I think that's been addressed. I'd like more information also, 7.1, on access and egress. I'm just a little bit unclear on that one. And I think my other concerns have been addressed already. I was concerned about the removal of trees prior to planning permission. That's what I wanted to address. Thank you.
Mark, do you want to answer that?
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, the issue around trees, hopefully that was addressed earlier. In respect of the access and egress arrangements, the kind of technical review that adequate access and egress can be achieved onto the highway has been considered by the council's highway officers. It's considered that an appropriate means of access at an appropriate gradient can be achieved, and the kind of technical nature of that could be kind of conditioned. I think that is conditioned as with regard to the application anyway. In respect of footfall and kind of the, I suppose, the usage of the kind of pedestrian routing, certainly at the times when the case officer has attended the site, and they've been there a number of times because there's this application, but there's also been the two kind of accompanying applications. There's never been a significant, well, there's only been the occasional kind of usage of that site, and certainly kind of the highways is kind of happy that there is sufficient visibility along that route to allow for a limited pedestrian usage. So technically, there's no objection kind of to that, and the pedestrian usage would be appropriate in this instance.
Councillor Janet Jones, thank you for that.
Thank you.
Right. The next question was from Councillor Nigel Dugmore.
Oh, hi, Councillor Nigel Dugmore, Muxton Ward. Yeah, so I've just been intrigued to know why this particular area was designated green network in the first place. And just a quick question on visibility displays. I mean, obviously, because the site was a pub, well then, you know, the fact that you've got one house on it is going to lead to less traffic than it would do with a pub. But it does mention visibility displays, and then it's conditioned. So what is the problem with the visibility displays?
Mark?
I'm not aware of any kind of issue with regard to visibility display in terms of the accompanying plans as part of the application. I'm just trying to open it at the minute on my laptop, but certainly it kind of shows an appropriate visibility from leaving the site. Where I talked about visibility in respect of pedestrians, that was kind of pedestrians walking along the route, that there's sufficient visibility to kind of pass those pedestrians safely. So I'm not aware that there's kind of the visibility, well, that there isn't the visibility issues when exiting the site. Should just be noted as well that this parcel of land is kind of outside of the kind of previous Rose and Crown site. So it's kind of slightly on higher elevated land. So it doesn't form kind of part of the original Rose and Crown public house. In respect of the kind of why the site was a green network, I'm not kind of fully kind of up to speed on why this parcel of land explicitly was kind of identified. But certainly in consideration of the application and whether it would kind of meet those criteria now, because it's a secluded parcel and because it doesn't kind of make the contribution which presumably it had at that time, that then the council's ecological officers haven't kind of raised an objection to the development.
Okay, thanks very much then.
Okay, Councillor Fletcher, Ian Fletcher, you put a question in.
Yeah, thank you, Charles. Actually, my question was with regard to access and the visibility, but I feel it's been adequately dealt with by the officer, so I've got no further questions to ask.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Fletcher. Ian, any other committee member got any questions or points?
Councillor Chris Turley.
Yes, Chris.
Just a point, I actually had a drive past on Sunday, but don't tell everybody. As far as I'm concerned, the current condition of the former Rose and Crown is an eyesore.
Thank you. Any other questions from the committee or points from the committee?
No, move it, Chair.
Councillor Dugmore is moving it. Is there a second or two moving the recommendation?
Councillor Chris Turley, second.
Can you have a roll call, please, of the committee members?
Thank you, Chair. So, Councillor Nigel Dugmore.
For.
Councillor Ian Fletcher.
For.
Councillor Amrit Jawar.
For the recommendation.
Councillor Janice Jones.
For.
Councillor Kelly Middleton.
For.
Councillor Peter Scott.
For.
Councillor Charles Smith.
For.
Councillor Chris Turley.
For.
Councillor Derek White.
For.
Chair, that's 9 members in favour.
Thank you. That application is allowed. Thank you. And that brings us to the end of the meeting. Can I thank you all for attending and your time and patience on what is a difficult situation we're in. We'll improve as time goes by. Thank you all for attending.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.